Danced around death with an elegant step, took a delicate breath that embellished his chest with an eminent rest. Resonance leapt and he lived out a life of unhesitant depth. Skipped along singing in days made of grass, and like cradled each path brought a rein to his hands. Lived all his living in frames wrought of task, as he tamed all he cornered and trained all he had. Fire and fortune lying in dawns moved tireless eyes to the wire and sought to sire the sword, climbing the walls of night to the eyes of the frightening forms. And he faced all his fears in the darkness, harvested the carcass of every hard hit, tasted the meals of his garments, setting his arms with silvery sharpness. But in the shadows watching, robes swept round his frame, singing rattled softly as death sung out his name. And in the black of lost streams, across the ragged caves, fingers tapping softly, death sung out his name. Trees became cities with leaves made of spring. Seasons wept in the breeze, but the sleep brought him sins. Increasingly dreamless, he'd breathe through the winds, till finally the seamstress with two little twins cradled their crying, telling tales of his life, while he sheltered their smiles and held both their eyes. Delving inside him, then melted his island, smelted the irons that dwelt in his mind. Taught him of love, taught him of much, taught him of all that he thought he had done. Called him towards them and coloured the boredom, taught him of autumns that broaden the song. But in the shadows watching, slowly setting flames, singing rattled softly as death sung out their names. Burnt for eternity, ravaged the world as he strangled the serpents that stabbed when he turned. Famished and burdened, he wrangled the sermon that sang what he worded and damned all his thirst. World slowly grew, but he shrunk in its weight, forsaken and soothed in the sunken decay. And he braced what he moved, marbled sun-risen greats, but still came the views of their crumbling face. More children loved and more children took, wrought monuments, mourned them and pondered their looks, wondered the waters that once gave him touch, and chronically hoarded each one into dust. Painted great arts, strained with his heart, but the trace of each stain became faded and past. Page upon page written rage as he danced, with the chase of each age that unmade what he parched. Days became darker and glazed with a rust that shaved all the sharpness till it grained into dust. Shapes arranged parted and flames became gusts that lazily charted the lanes that he loved. World became fire, sky became glass, time became timeless till it wind through its tracks. Climbing in silence, he finally hit black when the whites of his eyes filled with dry winds and crack. Planet decayed and the stars swept him out, no breath through his lungs and no movement or sound, and no press as he spun, glued to their shrouds till the rest of the suns were consumed like the clouds. And he floated alone, entombed in his throne. Ghosts of his memories made room till he froze. Notes of his head remained brutally slowed, arose without death in the bloom of its bones. And in the blackness watching, floating round his grave, singing rattled softly, but no one sung his name.